Hello, MSTA volunteers. As most of you know, my name is John Graves, and I'm the appointed Executive Director of MSTA. And what I'd like to do is give you a little bit of my understanding of the organization, how it's organized now, and where we might want to go in the future. So here's the organizational chart. And you can see in the yellow box we have a board of directors. We have the president, past president, president-elect, and then the district directors. The district directors are those people who represent regions throughout the state. Currently, there are 6 district directors that represent 6 different regions in the state. One of the things we're thinking about is changing our bylaws so that our districts match those of the RESAs, the Regional Educational Service groups that OPI has established, and there are 5 of those. So more than likely we will be talking about that in the October meeting about making that bylaw change and having 5 directors instead of 6. Supporting the board of directors are the appointed staff, and those include the executive director. So as you recognize from the flow chart, I could easily be unappointed anytime. We have the treasurer and we have a communications person. And currently I'm serving also as the communications person because Kristen Crawford has moved out of the state. Then we have an advisory board. Those include representatives from elementary, K-5, middle school, 6-8, the earth science folks, the physics, biology, and chemistry people. In addition to that, we also have a representative from higher education, representing universities and colleges. And then we've been fortunate enough to have an NSTA liaison. The names in red, the positions in red, are elected by the members each year. Most terms are for 2 years. Some of the others that you see there have indefinite terms. So the ones that are appointed have indefinite terms. But that should give you a bit of an idea of the organizational chart. So the duties of each of those positions should be somewhat self-explanatory. You can also look in the bylaws because those are fleshed out a little bit more. But obviously the president is the one who runs the meetings, who decides the agenda, kind of has a focus for the year. They work real closely with the president-elect and the past president. I'm beginning to call that the presidential chain, and so part of my work as the executive director is to work with those folks as they are planning the year, looking at conferences and things like that. The treasurer obviously is taking care of the membership, the dues, our organization's finances. The communications person is responsible for all the communications piece. Right now, I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment, but you'll be able to see what's entailed in that communications position. The advisory board represent the group of that they come from. So if it's a regional director, they're representing all the teachers of science or members of Montana Science Teachers Association in that region. So in a sense, that's a huge responsibility because they're representing people from elementary, from middle school, from high schools, and that's a hard job for a person who's volunteering, but that's the way the structure is. If it's the biology rep, they're representing the biology teachers who self-proclaim to be, self-identify as biology folks. The same with physics and chemistry. And the responsibility of the advisory board, regardless of who you're representing, is really to promote MSTA events. So it's important that when listserv information comes out, that you are repeating that information. If you have your own listserv, you have communication with science teachers in your area, that you're just continuing that conversation of getting that information out. Certainly, recruitment of new members is important. It's an ongoing piece all of us can do. When we're interacting with teachers of science, we can always be talking about people becoming members of MSTA. One of the things that we have done historically, and we have not done a good job of this of late, but I'll try to make sure we do it for next year, and that is each of the advisory board people should be hosting a luncheon at the conference. It can either be a session, it could be a share-a-thon, or whatever. And generally speaking, if we coordinate, we can do those over the lunch hour on whatever day we don't have the MSTA board meeting so that you can get your representative groups together. Probably not so important that you do that for the regions, but it would be fun to try that. but the biology people should all get together for a share session and a bit of a meeting. And that's where you would also elect that biology representative, or the physics or earth science or chemistry representative, or the elementary or the middle school representatives as well. So if you're one of those people, keep in mind for next year's conference that should be one of your responsibilities. To sign up for that session, and if you can't personally be there, find somebody else to host that particular session. Also, everybody is always encouraged to submit information for the news journal. So where we are right now, when you go out and you begin to talk to people about why they should join MSTA, these are some of the things that I just thought of as I was putting this together. But we do have a website, and it's montanascience.org. It's updated as it needs to be. So I know there's a lot of material there that is the same from, all the time. But as I find new information, I do update that. We do have a Facebook presence. We just this week also have a Twitter presence, and I'm hoping to really promote Twitter at our fall conference, because I think there are lots of teachers who would be interested in sharing what they're learning in their sessions. They can just do that through a tweet. I do have a listserv. I have one that is primarily members. Walt also has one that is called Building a Presence in Science, and he is able to actually impact even more people than we have in our members, but it's a great outreach as well. Also, we have lots of events going on. For example, I know in Billings there's that science fair associated with the hospital. Great Falls has some things going on. There's several things happening here in Bozeman this fall. But it's important that you would let me know as the communications person so we can get that information out to people. But one of our responsibilities as board members and advisory board members is to be promoting those events. Well, as we look to the future, I want people to begin to think about what we want this organization to look like. Membership is changing. A lot of gray-haired folks like me that are still around, and one of the questions I'm asking is this the kind of organization our younger teachers want? Or is there something else we could be doing? I think it's important for connection to take place. I think people need to be in a face-to-face context in order to do professional development, but there may be better ways for us to do that. So if you have ideas, please share those with me. I know we have lots and lots of questions about the future. We have questions surrounding the framework and the next generation science standards. Just so you are aware, the kind of, what's the right word here, but the party line right now with the next generation science standards from OPI is that it's on hold. There's enough sort of uncertainty in the political climate right now in the state that we are not really pushing the next generation science standards. However, I think we need to promote the science and engineering practices as they're described in the framework for K-12 science education, because that will really set the stage for the implementation and eventual adoption of next generation science standards, which will be a few years down the road. So just kind of keep that in mind. And of course, it's always frustrating to do all of this because we don't have any money. But maybe there are some funding sources out there we have not thought about. And again, maybe part of that structure will become apparent as we think about new career teachers and what their expectations are, and maybe how they can help finance some of what we're trying to do. So that's a brief overview. I solicit and welcome any questions that you might have, any comments that you might have, but I hope this begins to pull us together a little bit. And if you find this helpful, please let me know as well, because I can put more of these together. Thanks. I'll see you in October. Bye-bye.